Guys, my name is Bob Stewart. I work here at Brivity. This webinar is being brought to you by Brivity. These two gentlemen are Jason Baker. Jason, wave at the audience for me really quick. And Ryan Greigg. Now, Jason, Jason, you are really, and look, I know you probably work with a buyer here and there, right? A good friend or something like that. But for the most part, you are a listing agent, and you work exclusively with sellers. Is that right? In Missoula, Montana.
I live in Missoula, Montana, population 3.5. And yes, I worked with one buyer last year, and it was me.
Okay.
But yeah, but no, I bless my team with the buyer side stuff. But yeah, so primarily a listing agent. And of course, if I have a family member or a friend or something like that wants me to go around with them, or I need to get out of the office that day, go enjoy some sunshine. Yeah, we'll definitely work with the buyer. Yeah.
And then Ryan, you run you and your partner Anthony kind of co-lead the Ben Kinney team in Bellingham, which I don't know how many deals you guys do last year, 400 and some odd.
Anthony and I co-lead the Bellingham Ben Kinney team. We did 407 transactions last year. I also have my own sales team, which is Ryan Randall, and myself. He does most of the buyer side stuff. He's been with me 5 years. We did 50-something deals last year. We'll do 60, 70 deals this year on our own. And so he does most of the buyer stuff, but I have been doing that. Plus, I have the lovely task of helping 20-something agents get offers accepted regularly.
Yeah, so you guys got a lot of offers accepted last year. You've got a lot accepted this year. And these are really challenging markets that both of you guys are in. Jason, before we kind of officially got started, I heard you say, I asked you if you were on a listing appointment. You were like, what is that? Like, those don't really exist around here anymore because there's not really many listings. Yeah. So, I mean, both of you guys are in ultra competitive markets. Are we still, Ryan, in scenarios where we have like offer review dates and, 10 or 15 offers on a property potentially if it's priced right? Like, I mean, are both of you guys in markets of that nature still?
Absolutely. Absolutely, in a very competitive market. Bellingham especially is competitive. The surrounding areas are a little less competitive maybe, but I've listed a couple of properties a week over the last few weeks. Every single one of them has had 5 to 10 offers on them.
All right, so we have a slide deck. It's got, 18 or 20 we bantered around some ideas. Both Jason, you from the listing side being like, hey, if you're trying to win my offer, like here's some advice for you as from the buyer, the selling agent side. And then Ryan, you brought a lot of the like, all right, on the buyer side, like this is the kind of things we're thinking about. And so we'll put those together. We have this deck. We may or may not bring it up if I'm being quite honest. You guys are both have a lot of knowledge to share. And so let's just start with a conversation. And Ryan, Greigg, I want to go to you first because my wife and I are looking for a house right now. It's a kind of a second home / Airbnb for our family. It's kind of we're looking on lakes here in Washington State, which is really desirable right now, really hard to find, multiple offers. Almost every property that we come across, Ryan, has an offer review date on it. And I'm working with my mom as my real estate agent, and she's given us some tactics around that. Can you talk for a minute about what you guys do when you run up against somebody that's in an offer review date situation?
Well, I think an important thing to do is to contact the listing agent and ask them if they plan on sticking to that review date. I think, Jason, you'd probably agree that most of the times, yes, they are sticking to that review date. Most of the times they will hold off on accepting any offers. But if we don't ask, we'll never know. And we have had offers accepted the day of it going live or the second day after it going live, even when there is a review date. So I would highly recommend to people to contact the listing agent, maybe ask the question, hey, Bob, what would it take to get an offer accepted before the review date? What would your seller need to see to get an offer accepted before the review date? If I was to get you 425 and you're asking 375, if I gave you 50 grand over with all the possession time that you needed, would they accept before? So I think it's really important that agents are asking that question. Will your client be open to reviewing offers before the review date? Is there a price that they would be willing to accept before the review date? And see if we can't just get it accepted before that review date. Jason, do you guys see that much at all?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's a great topic because it's super important. So our general process is the following. We give it 24 hours before we put an offer review date on there. The reason is, even though we 99% of the time nail the pricing, if it's crickets for the first 24 hours, we did not nail the pricing. You'd agree with me that 10 or 15 showings, the first, as soon as it hits right away, should stack up. If they don't, you set an offer review date time for 7 days down the road, and there's not even a showing. You just shot yourself in the foot. The question that you said you should ask to a listing agent is very important, because now we're putting in the MLS that we're going to be reviewing offers Monday at noon. For instance, if we put it live on Tuesday or this Monday, right? So if we put it live today, maybe we're keeping it offers open until Monday night at 5 or Tuesday night at 5, whatever it is. So we have opportunity to do an open house. But now we're putting in there, seller reserves the right to take an offer prior to that. We were not doing that before, because what's happening is we are seeing less showings, we are seeing less offers. And so there's going to come a time where we get back to 1 or 2 offers per home. We're not there yet, but because we've lost the bottom 30% of our buyer pool because of rising interest rates, we are leaving that door open. And if you don't ask the question that you just said, it's not even going to be a discussion we have.
Ryan, to your point about calling them and asking if they'll accept them sooner, there's been at least 3 that I can remember in the last month, homes that my wife and I were interested in that had offer review dates on them. And so I thought to myself, well, I got a little bit of time, right? Because like in my scenario, I'm trying to get out to these houses, right? I'm like, ooh, house hit the market. Like, how can I get out there in the next 3 days, right? And there was a couple of them, 3 of them particularly, where I thought, all right, like I've got some time, right? The offer review date's next Tuesday. And all of a sudden, 2 days later, the property's gone. And I'm like, Mom, like, what happened with these? Can you call a listing agent? Like, where'd it go? And she's like, they took an earlier offer. So so one of the strategies that we've been talking about, I haven't used this yet, is making an offer with some kind of a kicker contingent on them accepting the offer prior to the offer review date. Is that something, Jason, you see people doing? Ryan, is that something you've ever deployed?
Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, no, we haven't seen any, any additional carrots being dangled in front of a seller here. It's I think it would be a great idea to do that. If you accept my offer, before 12 noon tomorrow, we'll do a backflip, put it on YouTube, that kind of thing.
No, like 50 grand. Like my mom, we didn't make the offer, but it was like, we'll give you an extra $30,000 if you'll accept this offer by noon tomorrow.
Yep. Exactly. If not, our offer reverts back to, whatever. But yeah, I think it would be super smart. I mean, anything to get right now, if we're getting 15 or 20 offers, don't you want your offer to be something that is memorable to them?
Mm-hmm. I think that's why one of the reasons those love letters, like, let's shift gears for a second to these love letters, because as Denise pointed out, in Maryland, they're illegal. In Oregon, they were illegal until yesterday. And I think, Denise, you guys are going to find really fast that court ruling is going to cascade across the country, because the state of Oregon actually backed off and said the next step would have been the Supreme Court. The state of Oregon backed off and said, all right, we agree, basically, with the court, right? And so that ruling is going to come and make ripples through Maryland, Denise. I don't have any question. Jason, have you ever had a seller be influenced by a letter of that nature?
Yes, I have. So, and it's never good. So what I mean,
like in your opinion, because you want them to get the most money, right? And sometimes they can be influenced in a way where they don't end up with the most money.
Dude, if you get like, right, Ryan, like if you get a high I or high S seller, right? They're not analyzing anything. They're not all business, So you're right in the middle, like the high, the emotional type sellers. They're right at level. They get an offer for $490. The other offers at $525, and there's this like, sob story, if you will, about, what's going on, or, they really love the look of the 32 dogs that they put in the picture or something like that. Right. So, especially here in Montana, we all have 94 of them. But the fact is that, there's been sellers that are like, I really have an emotional bond with that, with that letter. And that just makes me feel good. And I'm like, you're going to feel really good with another 40 grand in your pocket. I promise you're going to feel way better in the end, but, so we have to coach them through that, but that's our job.
And I think your job is to coach them through that and be like, don't look at Ryan's client's letter. And Ryan's job is to be like, hey, let's write him a letter about this property and what it could mean for your family. Ryan, do you guys do that? Is that a strategy that you've deployed?
Absolutely. I think that's a helpful strategy. And of course, you're going to ask the listing agent, are you open to review a letter if I send you a letter? And I think it's important if you're sending a letter. I had 5 offers on a property yesterday. And I think an important part to getting your offer accepted is just a clean offer to begin with. One agent sent me the love letter as an attachment, the pre-approval as an attachment, the seller disclosure as an attachment, and then the offer as an attachment. So I had to print 4 different documents.
Oh.
If you have a love letter, include that with your pre-approval letter on
It's
top
all
of
one
the
PDF
offer.
that Ryan can pull down and print out.
Yeah. Yeah. And now what I'm doing with my sellers, Jason, I'd be curious to see if you do this, is I ask the sellers when we sign the listing agreement and we say your home is going to go live this Thursday, we're going to review offers Tuesday. Do you even want me to read you the love letters? Because here's what might happen. You might get into a position where, like Jason's clients, they were willing to give up 30 to 50 grand because they liked the love letter. Do you even want me to read these to you? And I'm having people say, no, I don't want to know about these folks. It's really important that I get the most amount of money. And I have people that say, I've been in this home 30 years. I really care about who it goes to. So yes, I want to read the love letters. So I think,
yeah. You guys both know Tamara Lamore. She bought a house here in Seattle a year and a half ago, which is still a crazy market a year and a half ago, on a lake that never even hit the market, but it was because she had love lettered that lake, right? She sent one around to everybody on that lake. And in fact, the person she ended up buying the house from, it wasn't them that were struck by the love letter. It was their neighbor. Their neighbor got the love letter and was like, oh my God, I want this family to live next to me. And went and like basically called Tamara and said, hey, you should call my neighbor. They've been thinking about selling. So those things work. I want to right there. So you guys think they're good. Ryan, I love this, you asking the sellers, like, you want to see these or not? Because like you said, some of them will and some of them won't.
Bob, on that real quick, I mean, you have got to, so there's always this thing about planting a seed with the seller. So when you're at the listing presentation or you're starting to get a bunch of offers, it would be good to put in an auto plan through Briv and or something, offer expectations and throw that in the queue, because quite frankly, and in there and mention, look, you're probably going to get these love letters. And this is one time where you almost have to nip that in the bud. You might be emotional, you might really like something, but, please understand that, we're going to, pick the offer with the least amount of layers, and it might be, unemotional at that moment. And so we're going to, you really need to lead into that. You really need to.
Jason, I feel like you've got this one transaction in your head where the lady took it for $50,000 less than she should have. And you're still bitter about it. Is that what's going on?
She didn't end up taking that, but I'm just saying she didn't take that offer. She came.
Talked her out of it, but it was more the work that you wanted to do.
But you nip that in the bud, then it doesn't happen as much. It seems like anything in life that's true. Go ahead now.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, Ryan, are you guys like? I think the title of this webinar is like how to get your buyer's offer accepted. I think one of the better strategies is to go find a house that's not listed for them on the MLS. Is that something absolutely. That you guys are talk to me for a second about some of the people on your team, or even you and Ryan going out and like finding a house for somebody where you're like, hey, I've got a buyer. Like, what does that look like?
I think that's the most valuable thing we as realtors need to be doing right now is finding off-market deals. And if it's not a good fit for our buyer, then we can list the property. So I think the most common way to do that is through circle prospecting. I think people are missing out big time on circle prospecting for their clients, because we just talked about this in scripts this morning. It's a very powerful statement to say, Bob, I have a client that's looking for a home in your neighborhood and they lost out on an offer. And I promised them I would do everything in my power to help them find a home. So I'm just calling you today because I have a family that lost out on a property. I'm calling to see if you or any neighbors had thought about selling and would consider selling to an approved buyer that wants to be in your neighborhood.
Yep.
I'm calling asking for you to help a family. I'm not calling for you to list your property and sell your property. It takes the sales away from it. And they go, wow, that's really cool that you're calling outside the box to help a family out.
Yeah.
Those will turn into listings if we don't bring the buyer to them, right? And it's nice when we do bring the buyer to them because we can double end it. We can get a little bit more than maybe just the one side on the buy side. And we can have really happy clients that are now raving clients because we found them a deal that they didn't have to compete with.
Man, so you got is that, when do you move to that approach, Ryan? Are you guys constantly taking that approach? Or are you taking that approach when your buyers come to you one day and go, you know what, we don't want to do this anymore. We're sick of waiting. We're sick of losing out on all the offers, and finally you're like, all right, let me go to work for this person? Or like, what is the cadence of doing that for your buyer clients? Because I assume you always have buyer clients. So are you always prospecting with scripts like that? Or is it only after they start losing out on a bunch of listings?
I think that should be built into everybody's calendar, that we're circle prospecting. We're circle prospecting looking for listings, but while we're looking for listings, we all know we've got a handful of hot buyers that have maybe lost out on an offer, or the right home hasn't hit the market yet. So that is dual purposed. And Ryan has started doing a lot of that. He'll call around our just listed properties. He'll call around them as an open house invitation. And then that same call turns into a, hey, 5 people lost out on this property. Are you thinking about selling? 4 people are approved looking in the neighborhood. 4 families need help in the neighborhood. I think that's absolutely something that people should be doing right now. There's a lot of people that are not, and they're missing out on long-term follow-up leads that'll turn into sellers.
Yeah, it's a really, that's circle prospecting right now is super powerful. The nurture through the you know me, I'm kind of like, boom, I want to get it done right now. Everything else, nurturing is so much more important, but in a different way almost. Like, yeah, we're nurturing the actual person that said they might be interested in selling, but that needs to go on in like a more intentional list. So we've got our, like, you can't have pocket listings in Montana or anything like that, but I have some people who said, I will sell, I will move if I can find. So we have all of those people written down team wide, all of those, I would if I could. And so we can cross-reference, I would if you could find me something. And it's amazing how many times we're syncing up in that same list, this person with this person. But how we got them on the list initially is just saying, we've got this family. That person still has to find a home to go to that would sell to this family that lost out. So, it's important on top of that circle prospecting just to have this list started, with people who were quasi interested and then aligning them together. Yeah, for sure.
Home to go to, you just said they need a home to go to. So I want to give proper credit here, and I might butcher this. He's a real estate agent. He's kind of a trainer coach guy. His name's Ricky Caruth, I think. He's out of Louisiana. Have you guys heard of him?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I follow him on the Instas or the Twitters or wherever, right? And he was talking recently about, and he was saying that he's having a great approach by reaching out to like people that have a different address on mailing address on title than the home address, right? Absentee owners, Jason, because they don't need to worry if they sell their rental property about where they're going to go.
That's right.
Right. And you're also at this place where the market's a lot of people, right, would think this market is on a bubble. Like, it's right. And so you may have investors right now that have had their money in real estate for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And right now would be a great time for them to take that money out, right? Because all the signs are, acting like, well, maybe this market's getting overheated. Things are starting to slow down a little bit, right? Potentially, I don't know, in some of our markets, that's not really happening, but interest rates are rising. So like a sophisticated investor might look and go, you know what, now might be a good time to take my real estate money off the board. Are you guys targeting, Ryan? Are you guys targeting like absentee owners in your markets at all? Or what do you think about that strategy in general?
I think it's a smart strategy. Yeah, I personally love it when somebody sells a property here and moves out of state. It's much easier than, hey, I'm going to sell here, but then I have to find a home here. I love the two-sided deals, but it's an easy transaction when somebody's selling and moving out of state, because then we can also partner them with one of our partners across the country. But we don't do that, and we might be missing out on that opportunity. It's something that we should be doing, the absentee owners.
Jason, I know you're a big prospector guy on the listing side of things. You're constantly thinking of creative angles. Has that one popped into your world yet?
It has, and we're super blessed. Here in the last couple months, we actually had a new title company come to town. So we were getting our lists from listsource.com is where we're getting our absentee owner lists. And so for the last 2 or 3 years, we've been unable to get the list just because of privacy laws in Montana that were passed where they can no longer sell that data. Well, we recently have teamed up with a local title company, and they're actually able to provide that where the tax address is different than the property address. Where they get their tax bill mailed is different than the subject property. And and then we can run that then through Vulcan to get the cross-reference those phone numbers through that data set. And so, we're starting to prospect into those right now, both by mail and also by phone. And it's starting to bear fruit.
You're going to find listings to go sell to your buyers who can't find any properties because nothing on the market. And those people don't have to worry about where they're moving. I thought that sometimes you hear things and you're like, why haven't I always known that thing, right? That's so stinking obvious. How come I didn't know that before this guy just said it? So maybe there's somebody on the call that's like, oh, yeah, wow, that's a really good idea. And so that's what I thought. And again, it's definitely Caruth is his last name. I think his name's Ricky. Shout out to Ricky.
Title companies and list source for I think that they do 48 out of 50 states or whatever. They can do. Montana just happened to be one of them, but reach out to those, cross-reference the numbers. If you don't feel like paying Vulcan to do it or some other data source like that, BIN verified is another, a great way to get those numbers and stuff. So,
all right, let's talk about just in general now. Let's say I'm a buyer's agent, right? I'm helping these buyers. Let's talk about communication. That communication line between the buyer's agent and the listing agent. Ryan, maybe you start. I know you maybe, Jason, you're the heavy listing agent. Ryan, maybe you have a little bit more balanced business here in the last couple of years. Give me that, having been on both sides, Ryan, talk me through a little bit of what kind of communication are you looking for if you're the listing agent, or are you looking to give to the listing agent if you're the buyer agent?
I think one thing that's important is to put ourselves as the listing agent in the buyer's agent shoes and vice versa frequently. Jason, you're probably a super busy listing agent. You're like me, we're high Ds, we're fast paced. We don't have very much patience. So when we get a call from somebody that's like, hey, Jason, I'm calling you about your listing. I have some questions for you. Can you keep me updated? We're like, oh my God, get to the point. And we can't be those jerk listing agents. We don't want to be the listing agent that just says, what do you want? Just send me the offer, dang it. Because we're going to be on the other side of the shoes. But I think it's important as the buyer's agent to be very prepared with your communication. Look through the MLS, look through the agent remarks, look through the supplements. Have everything looked at already before you call and ask them, so tell me about this. And the listing agent's going to go, it's in the supplements, dude. Really? It's all, you just asked me 4 questions and they're all right. If you would have looked, and what you're showing me is maybe you're not highly attentive to detail. And I don't want to do a deal with somebody who's not attentive to detail. Yep. So you have to have that patience. So as the buyer's agent, look at everything first, study the property first, get your questions in order, write them down, and then call the listing agent. Bob, hey, sweet listing, man. Hey, I'm calling because I noticed that there's this. Can you tell me specifically about this? Perfect. Hey, also, can you tell me if you plan on holding to the review date? If I send you an offer before the review date, what does it got to be for you to accept it? Cool. Hey, would it be okay with you if I call you back tomorrow to follow up? The worst is when a buyer's agent says, text me if you get any other offers. I'm like, dude, I got 30 calls on this place. I'm not going to remember you, and I'm not going to text you to let you know I got an offer that blew your socks off. You need to call back and follow up with me.
Ryan, question. Have an agenda. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Jason. Have an agenda. Be concise with that agenda. And make sure the agenda couldn't have been covered by investigating the details in the MLS listing.
It's only going to snowball downhill from here if that's how you're starting. So I have to question. I feel bad for the buyers that think that they just go out and start working with any agent. If first of all, I don't have time to answer 7,000 questions that are already there. As a professional real estate agent, I have all those questions already uploaded in associated docs. They're just simply there. But if that's the way that you're starting our relationship in a really busy market like this, do I think that you've properly pre-qualified your buyer? The answer is no. Do I think that you've spent time to dig deep and find out if this person's actually qualified? Do they even have a pre-qual letter? Do you even have proof of funds? Do you have any of that stuff? Because if you're asking me for this, I know damn well you haven't asked your buyer, even had these conversations with them.
Jason, let me ask you, because I think some people on the call, if you haven't been in this industry for a long time, they might be thinking to themselves, yeah, but you're the listing agent, and no matter how I approach you, you have to give my offer to the seller. And if I got the best offer, I can treat you like shit because you just got to give it to them. I mean, can you maybe like dispel that myth? Because like, what are you saying to your sellers when the agent has been a total disaster, kind of getting to the point where they're giving you an offer, which may actually be the highest offer?
Yeah, it might be. So there's so when we're thinking about like the risk to my seller is not closing on time and having the rates be 2 points higher, having the market have come down, getting to a point where I'm getting 5 offers per property versus 25. That's the risk. 60 days could be that precipice. We don't want to fall off for 45 days or anything else. So no, the highest offer is not like one of my things is who's the agent. And then another thing that me and my admin team talk to who present offers to the sellers are, have we ever worked with this person before? What do we know about them? What's their history? What are they going to do on the home inspection? Are they going to be pulling rookie moves there? Are they going to preface the home inspection, if there even is one, to the buyer or prepper, show them an old report that says, hey, if the house, if the dirt's going in towards the house, that's not the end of the world. There's just like certain things that newer agents don't go over with their thing. And yeah, I mean, if I've never heard from the agent and they're doing something that's 550, the other person's at 5.25, they get all these other things in there that don't really make sense or that I'm unclear on because they haven't made it clear. I don't know if highest is best. That situation, yeah.
So you're basically laying out the risk for your client. You're like, look, you can take this offer. I just want you to know that like this agent's done 3 deals ever in his life. There's a high likelihood they only give us $1,000 earnest money. So if they lost it, it wouldn't be that big of a deal for them, right? Like, yeah, that's interesting. So I mean,
our relationship with the agent is so important, and in a smaller market, like we're in a very similar sized market, Ryan. You guys are a little bigger, but. But in a small market, we all know each other. I mean, there's a lot of new agents and stuff, and also people who come out of the woodwork in the springtime and disappear by end of summer. But at the end of the day, right? Have you noticed that, Ryan? You're like, where have they been for the last 7 months? But it's just
that's where they've been. Who wants to stay in Missoula in the wintertime?
Yeah, that's right. We just that's right. The snowcat. We had change oil in the snowcats. We could get down the mountain. Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
I agree, though, Jason, 100%. In the conversation with the seller, price is a part of it, just like lender is a part of it, but also just like agent is a part of it. And that will be a big conversation. If we're down to two offers that are somewhat similar, I'll say, Jason, I think one thing that I would like you to know about this other offer is I've worked with this agent many times. They're a get the deal done type of person. I don't know the other agent, but what I do know about this agent is they're going to get it done. So I like to be able to tell my seller, I've worked with this agent before, they get the deal done. They're not going to nickel and dime us after our offer's accepted. So I think that's a big part of it.
Having received, I think 350 or 400 offers so far year to date, we really know, we know the people who are super nice to us up front. And then as soon as they get their offer and the contract, we're going to like order every single inspection under the sun. They're even going to do like a seance in the front yard just to make sure the vibes are good, So we know like the weirdness is coming in a second. Right. So, so it matters. Who you are matters for sure.
Patty asked, and this could be a state specific thing or something. She said, can the listing agent get permission from the seller to not accept love letters? Like, Ryan, so you ask them up front, like, do you want to see these or not? In your case, Ryan, they can still the seller can give it to you. You're just having the discussion with the buyer can give it to you. You're just having a discussion with your seller. Do they want to see them or not? Right?
Correct. Nothing states in Washington or any other state that I know of that you have to present a love letter. The love letter is not an MLS form. The love letter is a supplement to an offer. It's an additional thing to an offer. So as far as I know, nothing states you have to read a letter to somebody, especially if your seller says, I don't want to read it.
Got it. So, Patty, I don't know if we can get permission to just be like, look, we don't even want your letter. But we can definitely have that arrangement. You know what's so funny about real estate, you guys? I feel like some of the most successful, Ben is such a great example of this. It's like, there's not really rules. right? Like there's like this stuff isn't written down somewhere in a book and you're just like, well, I can do this and I can't do that, right? I mean, there's laws, but my wife is always like, we've been doing this whole process with my mom. She's like, well, can we do this? And I'm like, we can do anything. Like nobody's saying we can't do it that way. That might not be how it's traditionally done, right? Things like the bump, right? Like, well, we can just offer 50 grand over if they accept by tomorrow. And if they don't, then we'll pull it back, right?
Look, my son's 10, Bob, and I'm always telling him, figure out how to work around the rules.
Yeah.
Like, don't break the rules, but figure out how to work around them. If you've never gotten and I might be going too far, but if you've never gotten an MLS fine, you're probably not going to get an MLS fine on your first infraction. You're going to get a warning. Now, don't you get yourself in trouble, but do what you got to do to get your folks' offers accepted. Do what you got to do to get it.
Ryan,
we do that with hunting around here, Bob. You know, we're like, oh, we might, we're going to go over onto this this Californian's ranch over here. You know what I'm saying? Where all the big elk are hanging out. We might, I'm sorry. Would you please forgive me? Yeah.
You guys, by the way, disclaimer, everybody should be following all their local rules and restrictions. Yeah, Ryan, do you remember we had a guy that came and talked to us at, I don't remember if it was When They Give or our State of the Company here for Ben Kinney, Sam Walker, and he wrote a book called The Captain's Class.
Yeah, I remember.
Jason, you were there too. Yeah. Yep. So he kind of analyzed all these kind of great captains of all these iconic sports teams over the years, right? The Bill Russells and some of these, who was the guy on the Bulls team? Bill Weddington? Or who was it? Cartwright. Yeah, Bill Cartwright, right? All these, and they had all these similar traits. And one of the traits, and this is what kind of, Ryan, you reminded me of this, was the willingness to play in the gray areas of the rules, right? When there's not a cut and dry on the love letters, he's like, I don't know, I'm just going to ask my sellers, do you want to see them or do you not, right? Like, I think there's a lot of that in real estate, right? Like
I do that all the time with social media, Bob. Like in Washington, we're not allowed to do coming soon listings. So when I have a listing that I know is coming on the market, I'll post it on social media. I'll take a video of it and I'll say something like, this listing is not coming soon. It's not coming soon. It is not coming soon. Jason.
I'm just out walking through a friend's house who may or may not be coming soon.
Yeah, that's right.
I've started to see, like Ryan might be posting some stuff that might be coming soon. I should reach out to him. I can't tell you the price, Bob. I can't tell you, but if you want to go look at it, I can show it to you.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean that's the gray areas of. We've done that. I mean, the MLS. The IDX and the way that they allow you to display certain listings. And we've been playing, I think, in those gray areas for a long time. Because the reality is, for years, Ryan, it's like specific to social media, right? And this coming soon and being able to promote these things. Like, these are brand new rules, right? Like, and the people making the rules generally don't really understand a lot of the mediums that these rules are being applied to, right? Now, granted, that's different for contract law, which is, a lot of what we would be referring to here. Hey, Jason, what kind of stuff when somebody's making an offer do you want to see in the offer itself, right? As a listing agent, what are 2 or 3 things that if they're in there, that buyer has a lot better chance of your seller considering their offer.
This is like coming soon or not coming soon. So it could take this either way. What I don't freaking want to see is I don't want to see that you're going to, hold me to an appraisal because we're going to be, oftentimes 100, 100 and a quarter, 150 over right here. I don't even want to see that box checked. I don't want to see the inspection checked. If you want to bring an inspector in while you go look at the house real quick, I'm sure I can get that okayed, but don't freaking send that over right now on this particular property. So I want to see you not put that on there. I want to see you not put that on there. I want to see you not financing if possible. I want to see you paying cash, which now, unbelievably, 23% of the deals in Montana, in Missoula County were cash, or in our MLS were cash. Last year, probably up from 5%, which is, wonderful. And so for me, presenting an offer to a seller is removing as many layers of that onion as possible. I want like zero risk. I want basically non-refundable earnest money deposit, cash transaction closing on or before the date that the seller wants. And then, that's what we're looking for. Don't put
shit, Ryan. I'm never going to be able to buy a house in Missoula. I gotta have $500,000 cash.
Bob, Gail's good enough to get it done. Believe me,
I do have a pretty good buyer's agent. That's true.
We had a listing yesterday that we reviewed 5 offers on, and there were 2 cash offers and 3 financed. And the winning offer was 30 grand higher, but financed. So I said, dude, you're up against cash offers. Can you waive your financing contingency? They said, yeah, we'll waive the financing. So what that means is they had $15,000 earnest money. If that appraisal came back low, if something happens, they're moving forward, or my seller gets $15,000.
Right.
I think all of this stems back to day one with our buyers, sitting down with them and having a consultation with them where we're showing them what's going on with the market. And we're never just meeting a buyer at a home to show them the property in our first time meeting with them. We have to sit down with them. We have to show them what the market's doing. We have to show them what that particular neighborhood is selling at. Show them, hey, here's 6 sold properties in that neighborhood within 1 mile of where you're looking, Bob. And what I see is every single one of those properties sold in a week or less. In fact, they were 2 days, 3 days. And look, when we do a comparative market analysis, when we do to see what these sold at, on average, every single one of these sold for 5% or more. This one sold for 15%. So if you want to be in the ballpark in this neighborhood, we're not even making an offer unless it's at least 10% over the asking price. But we have to show them that at the consultation. I think what we all can improve on everywhere is less of getting a hot lead, meeting them at a property, getting a hot lead and slowing down a little bit and meeting them at the office and showing them what's going on with the market, showing them what the last winning offer that you've experienced is, and showing them, asking them on a scale of 1 to 10, Jason, how badly do you love this home? Great. A 10? Great. Here's what we got to do to win it. I'm going to let you know what we have to do to win it. It's up to you to decide if you want to do that.
Ryan, I'm sending everybody over. I'm sending my buyers over to you.
Go.
I mean, I just want to sign right now. I mean, this is great. And one other thing too, for the buyers right now on that consultation is, making sure that they've, like we used to say pre-qualify, now we call it re-qualify. We need to make sure that they re-qualify because they might've got a pre-approval, 60 days ago, right? At 2.875 or 3% or 3.25. And now it's at, what's it at? 43% interest this morning, just under 6%, right? So they've got to re-qualify. So I want to make sure as a listing agent that person's pre-qual is like redone if it's not, if it's 60 days old. And I think, buyer's agent or selling agent worth their salt will already have done that. But that's something that we're really looking at to make sure that they're hot off the press.
Can I, so I did that recently, Jason. My wife and I have been looking for this lake house for 2 years now, right?
I can't wait.
And we were approved to a pretty good low amount, and then interest rates went nuts in the last month. And so I'm like, well, I need to reach out and see if we can what we can afford now, right? And so we got reapproved. Can I just tell you what's happening in the mortgage side of things right now? When you send your buyers to get reapproved, there's a really high likelihood that they're going to get bombarded by mortgage professionals because these mortgage companies right now are dying. Yeah. And they don't have, there's no refi business out there, right? So when I went in to get my credit, my credit got pulled out of Experian or any of the 3 credit bureaus. You guys don't know what a trigger lead is?
I know what a trigger lead is.
On the back side of that is they trigger it off, and any mortgage company now that's got $3 can buy the fact that I just made an inquiry on my credit to see if I could get approved for a mortgage. You guys, you should seriously, Brian, prepare your buyers when they go out to do it was I know this industry, but the next day I got 50 phone calls. I got 40 text messages. I was like,
good for them. I love it.
Well, it's funny because there is one person, this was 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks later, Jason, I swear to you guys, I had 50 calls the first day and 40 text messages. That's not an exaggeration at all. I can show you my phone.
Love it.
2 weeks later, guess how many of those people are still following up with me, by the way? 1. And I'm going to give that person a shot to do my mortgage. Not for no other reason other than 2 weeks later, they're still trying to help me, right? Anyway, random. You know what that's to remind you guys? That if you can be the last one standing calling your Brivity lead, Ryan Greigg,
follow up.
They will they will consider at least giving you a shot to earn the business. I don't know how many of the folks on here are Brivity clients. I do recognize a couple of names in here. There's definitely some folks that are not Brivity clients. I want to talk for just a second about one Brivity product. It's commercially, I guess you might say. What did I just do? I just unplugged. Okay, hopefully my computer will last for the rest of this time. Market reports. Ryan, we use market reports on buyers, and I want to talk just for a second about the idea of why we do this. So if you guys are a Brivity client, we've got this market report tool, which essentially provides to sellers, right? All of our past clients, anybody in our sphere, anybody we believe they live in the house, they're in our database. Did we just lose Jason Baker? Hopefully he hops back in here. All right. And Ryan, we set these up on all the seller prospects or the people in our sphere, but we also, and that's kind of the obvious thing to do with the market report, because what those market reports do is they'll send out, Ryan, I don't have to tell you this, I'm telling the audience who might not know, right? You know this. They'll send out once a week, every 2 weeks, or once a month, a report that shows that person who lives, I live at 123 Main Street, right? We're going to show them everything selling around them, everything active around them, Ryan, everything pending, and everything that's sold around them, including the price that it's sold for, and then the photos. They can go look at the house to see how much it looks like theirs. Now, those are awesome for sellers. We get come list me emails from those, right? People that reply and go, hey, you've been sending this for 2 years. Like, we're ready to list our house. Do you think you can come out and talk to us about what we'd price it at? We're like, yeah, that's absolutely what we do. But a couple of years ago, we started doing these on buyers. And what that might look like is, let's say I've got a buyer, Ryan, up here in Bellingham, and they're looking for a house, in Berkeley Village here, right? Between $600,000 and $700,000. So we have a listing alert, right? Every day we're sending them new properties in this area. Went and drew on a map, Berkeley Village, right? Between $600,000 and $700,000. So it used to be that's all we did, right? It's like, hey, here's your new listing. Here's your new listing. And, if a week later they reached out to us and said, hey, a week ago, Ryan, you sent me this property and my wife and I have been talking about it and we like it. We'd like to go see it, right? You maybe go in and be like, oh, sorry, that thing's pending. Well, today what we do is they get the listing alert still in Berkeley Village, 600 to 700,000, right? But then we send them a weekly market report, right? Where every week we show them everything happening in that same area where we're sending them listings, not just the new listings, which is what a listing alert does, right? We show them what's currently active. We show them what's pending. So that's the stuff that, man, if you like that one, sorry, it's gone now, right? You should have called me sooner. And then we'll show them what's sold. And what it does over time is it helps educate them, right? That's the area they're looking to buy. And each week they're kind of checking out what's selling in there. They're going to realize these properties are selling for 15, 20,000 over, 15% over in some cases, right? You're good, Jason. So if you are a Brivity client, okay, I beg you, these market reports on your buyers where you're sending them a report of the same kind of area that you're sending them listings, super powerful, you guys. Super powerful for a couple reasons. One is to educate them about the market, okay? Two is to create a sense of urgency when they do see properties they like. Because a lot of times they don't ever know that thing sells or how fast it sells, right? That market report weekly is reinforcing them. Look, I'm sorry, that one's sold. That one's sold. Should call Ryan faster, right? That one's sold. The vast majority of Brivity users do not have their buyers set up on market reports. So we'll have not just thousands of market reports going out to our past clients, our sphere, and any seller prospects we have, but we'll have them directed at the buyers as well. So I just wanted to give you guys that tip. If you're not a Brivity client, reach out. We'd love to show you that market report tool and kind of some of the power of it. It's super duper powerful for our past clients in our sphere and our seller prospects. But we found that it's also very valuable to buyers. Ryan, how much time do you spend educating your buyer on that market? Like, is it a 5 or 10 minute conversation as a part of the buyer consultation? Is it a constant ongoing thing where every time you're talking to them, you're trying to point out things that are selling? And kind of what does that look like for educating your buyer about the market?
I think you should spend the time in that initial consultation. And then, like you mentioned, the market reports are nice to reiterate that. So we've done that in the initial consultation. We've spent time with them finding out what's important to them about the home that they're looking for. We've spent time with them finding out what's important about the process. And then we'll get into showing them what's going on with the market. I think you can easily spend 20 or 30 minutes going over that. And I think it's highly valuable. I love the, I'd rather ask you 500 questions and show you 5 properties than only ask you 5 questions and show you 500 properties type approach. I'd rather sit with you, Bob, and show you everything that's sold in that neighborhood and look at the inside of those homes and see what it's sold for and really show you. So when you walk out of there, like we said earlier, I got to offer 105%. I got to offer 10% over list price to even get in the ballpark of that property. So I think you will get your time back massively by spending that 20 minutes going over that. Then the market reports will reinforce that. They'll go, oh yeah, here, look there's what Ryan was talking about. That one sold for 10% over asking price when we met in that consultation. So I don't think that's something that should be skimmed over. And I don't think you should not be doing that. And I think you should. I also compare it to when I go on a listing appointment. I was on a listing appointment for an hour and 45 minutes the other day, but I walked out with a signed agreement. Am I walking out of there going, gosh, that took forever, that was terrible? No, I'm walking out of there going, I got the signed listing agreement. So spend the time that it's going to take up front to get the job done. You're going to walk out of there and they're going to go, okay, I need to offer 10% over asking to even start to play in this neighborhood.
I'm curious, from the group here, you guys do me a favor, find the chat box right now. How many of you guys would be interested in having Ryan Greigg come back to us next month or the month after and give us a buyer consultation? Like show you guys how on the Ben Kinney teams we sit down and spend that time, Ryan, with the buyer to educate them a little bit, let them know how we do it, and then really with the buyers to get a buyer agreement signed. Right, Ryan? Like when we do a buyer consultation, it's just as much about getting that commitment from them as it is about educating them about the market or the way we're going to present offers or any of that stuff, right?
I would be happy to come back and talk with you guys about that, or I can just I can leverage out my team and send the other Ryan. That's what he does all the time. He is my buyer's agent. He would do it better than I would, frankly. I don't do it as often as he does. So I've learned it. However, he does it more frequently than I do, and he's an ace at it.
You know what? He actually, I don't know if you know this, but the last time I asked somebody to do it, I skipped you and I went straight to Ryan Randall because I knew that he was the one that would nail it even better because he's out there practicing it every day, right? Like this kid's doing it every day with people. Yeah, Patty says, I don't care what, Ryan, just give us a Ryan. That's awesome. All right. Patty, I promise you guys in the maybe next month, we will find some way to get Ryan Randall back, and any Ryan will do, but we'll find one of the Ryans and have them go through that buyer consultation and what it looks like. And you guys can even see the buyer consultation. We have a printed buyer consultation that we use, and let's get your hands on that. Jason.
Bob, I'll make a deal, Bob. I'll do it with anybody that does burpees with me.
Jason Baker, I don't know how
I gotta go. Someone's calling me.
I thought this is I'll be a little bit vulnerable here. I thought I went into Ryan's office one day. I remember there's something. I'm like, hey, can you do this? I mean, it might have been for this webinar. I don't know. But he's like, oh, yeah, I can do that. You want to do some burpees with me? And I'm like, how many burpees? And he's like, oh, just 10. And I'm like, 10 burpees? After the second burpee, Jason Baker, I was like, oh, I'm screwed. I don't think I can make it to 10. But I'm like, I got to. We're like in the office. There's people out there. Like, I can't stop, right? So I'm just – at the end of 10 burpees, I thought I was going to die. Like 10 burpees, that's it. After that, I was like, hey, Ryan, by the way, thank you for that. Like that made me realize I'm a worthless POS. And my wife and I since then have been working out at night. And it started slow, but we've been using our little tempo. We have this tempo mirror.
Ryan is still skinny, even though the camera adds 20 or 30 pounds. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
he's not skinny, boss. He's got some muscles on that.
Well, no, I don't mean, I'm just talking about comparatively speaking. You know what I'm saying?
All right. So, Jason, you're the listing agent. What else can I do to bribe you? Like, can I offer you a steak dinner? Yeah. Can I bake something in there for like, what else are you guys seeing? Are you seeing anything crazy and creative? I've been, it used to be on the other side. Like I've been in real estate long enough to remember the 2008 crashy 2009, all those years, right? When people were offering like Corvettes, if you'd buy their house type of craziness. Like, are you seeing any of that on the other side where buyers are trying to bribe sellers in any creative manner?
So I've had buyers go like after the showing and the house is not vacant, like talk to the, walk up and talk to the seller, which is like, not good. But no, I mean, we're pretty, it seems like everything in Montana is pretty well just like, it's like back to the basics, right? So I think the most important thing is just the basics things that we've already touched on. I haven't seen anything wacky come across and everything else, which I appreciate.
I'm looking for some, like, I would be willing, if somebody will sell me their lake house here in Washington, just let them come use my dock whenever they want. Like, if they want to just show up there and throw a fishing pole in, like, I'm down. I'm good with that. I'll write it into the deed or something. I don't know how that works.
There's a whole lot I would do for, a year's supply, like pizza, a 5-gallon vat of like Oreos, cookies and cream ice cream. There's a lot I'd do for that.
Ryan, you guys seeing anything like
I'm not seeing anything super creative, but what I'm definitely seeing is, hey, Bob, like if you accept my offer, stay there as long as you want after closing.
So a lot of the rent back stuff, because that gives them a chance now to go, okay, cool. Like now I got some time to find that next house, right? It takes care of that home to go to problem Jason was talking about earlier.
Yeah. And somebody said to me, I noticed your seller wants a month rent back. What do they think the appropriate amount would be? And I laughed. I said, 0. Like every other offer is giving them a free rent back. If you want to be competitive, something that's important to this client is they need to be able to have about 3 weeks after closing to stay in the house.
I mean, we don't really call that a rent back. We would just call that like a delayed closing or something, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and it can get complicated depending on the state that you're in, and some states are not recommending it. But I think that's something that I see commonly is, hey, accept my offer and you can stay as long as you want after. Accept my offer. You can take any of the things that maybe we would be keeping initially, like appliances or something like that.
Jason, when Ryan calls you initially, because we talked in the beginning about good communication and he might have some questions and he needs to be concise with them, is how much of what's important to the seller are you willing to give up to him, right? Like, because Ryan, I'm assuming you would ask the question, hey, what's important to your sellers, Jason Baker? Like, and yeah. Jason would say, hey, clean offer, don't send me 15 PDFs, right? It's clean offer, no inspection, no appraisal, right? Like, yeah. He's going to run these things down. Like, we're looking for an offer that has that. How much else would you give them, Jason? Like, are you telling them, like, that look, they'd love to be able to stay in this place, and so you want to put that in there. Like, how much are you helping a guy like Ryan out?
Yeah, so it's obviously seller protection is very important. You don't, if there's any sort of desperation to sell, you're not going to share anything like that. So you should definitely know when their move out date, preferred move out date is, or grace period would be. That's the number one thing. But but I just the blanket thing that I tell them is, I said, look, here's the deal. Obviously, there's contingencies on the buy sell. The more of those that you check, okay, the harder it is for my seller that, there's just more layers there. And it's just going to be something that it's going to be harder to get. Like, the less of those layers that there is, the better opportunity is. And of course, we're looking for the highest offer as well.
Yeah. Ryan, you're in a market where, I mean, are you, I know you're not suggesting that people waive their inspection, because the wording of that would probably have some liability associated with it, but you're presenting to people that offers where the inspection is waived are a more valid or a more attractive offer, right? Do you have buyers right now that are like waiving inspection and then just having inspectors come in and inspect? Like, are you seeing a bunch of that?
We see a couple different things. One thing that we see is pre-inspections are pretty common. So they'll say, hey, today's Thursday, we're reviewing offers on next Tuesday. Feel free to do a pre-inspection. Mm-hmm. What that means is we can take an inspector over there on Sunday, do a pre-inspection. We probably can't ask for anything after that, but now at least the buyers have the knowledge of an inspection. So that's super common, is pre-inspections happening.
Let me ask you a quick question. Do you how much does an inspection cost in your market, or for a full inspection? $500?
Yeah, on average $500. So you don't want to do too many pre-inspections if you're not comfortable and confident that you're going to want to purchase that home.
Like, I feel like you need to go out and make an arrangement with some inspector to be like, can I get the $250 pre-inspection deal? I don't need you climbing into every nook and cranny, right? But like if as a buyer, I'd want an agent that was like, hey, look, we can do these pre-inspections. I got to deal with this one inspector. It's not the full deal. He doesn't write the inspection report up at the end of the day, right? but he can come in and tell us like any major issues that this house might have. If you're not, like, go find an inspector that will do the 250 inspection.
Yeah, we have some of those. Yeah, because what most inspectors will tell you is it takes equal amount of time to do the inspection itself as it does to type the report.
Write the report. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got some that will just give you a verbal, yeah, this house looks good. So the pre-inspection is one thing. We did just have a property where the buyer waived inspection, and they said, but we still want to get an inspection. So if you have, depending on their state, if you have waived inspection, legally, you're not allowed to take an inspector into the home. So we had to just ask the seller, and their agent said, hey, we know we've waived inspection. However, our client would still like to get an inspection for their own good. Is that okay? And they said, sure. Like, you have $50,000 non-refundable earnest money. If you decide to back out, you're losing this money. So you can still get an inspection after, as long as you get the approval for it.
Yeah, the other thing, that the pre-inspection is good, but here's the thing, and whether this is gray area or not, I'm just going to put it out there. I'm not saying I've done it or didn't do it or anything like that, but here's the deal. If you have a pre-inspection done, right, keep it, go ahead, do it. Don't freaking tell me anything that's on it, because I'm not sure I want to know. You know what I mean? Like, right? So there you go. So,
that's an agreement, right? Yes, we'll let you in the house and agree to let you inspect it as long as you agree to not tell me anything you find.
Because here's what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to go, okay, well, now you have to disclose that to the next buyer, and I'm like, well, I let you in there for your informational purposes only ahead of time, so keep it to yourself.
These things get tricky.
That would waive their inspection contingency. If you send somebody an inspection report without the seller asking, then you've waived your inspection contingency. So you can't do that. And if they send you an email saying, hey, here's some of the things that we found, then we have been trained to say, you know what, I appreciate the email, but I'm not going to read that. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
But then, Bob, to answer your question about, are we suggesting people waive inspection? We have good disclosures that I would send you as a buyer that you would sign with 3 inspector referrals on there that said, hey, I have referred you 3 different inspectors. I'm not making you choose one inspector. Here's 3 qualified inspectors. And Bob, I always advise somebody to get an inspection. In fact, here's the buyer advisory on getting an inspection. And that said, it's your choice if you want to get an inspection or not. Obviously, without an inspection, it's one less contingency. Therefore, your offer could be stronger without that. If you're comfortable with waiving the inspection, then we can certainly do that. However, it's always my advice to go.
Look, and some of these are buyer, like if I'm handyman buyer, I'm like, sure, waive the inspection. Whatever comes up, I can fix it, right? My wife would be like, screw that inspection. Like, my husband's worthless. He can't fix jack, right? And so we need to get an inspection. So, I mean, some of that stuff is buyer. Listen, you guys, this has been awesome. I hope that anybody on this call picked up a few little nuggets that they can deploy back into their business. We'll get one of the Ryans. I don't know which one. We'll get one of you guys back here in a couple of weeks to do a buyer consultation, because I think that would be really powerful to, that's the start of this whole thing, right? Like, we can't even really we started right in today talking about how to get their offer accepted. We got to start with getting proper expectations set, getting the contract signed so they're actually our client, not just a buyer prospect. So you guys rock. By the way, I really appreciate you guys doing this, because this is an hour of your day. I know it's right in the middle of your guys' prospecting time. It's the most valuable time that you spend in your business, Jason Baker. So thank you for, you guys literally both contributed like $1,000 to me today, because that's how much you guys make an hour. So I just appreciate the heck out of you doing it. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Jason. Ryan, Greigg, one of you Ryans is coming back, okay? Jason Baker, we'll have you back, because we never go too far without my friend Jason showing up. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Bob. I threw my number in the chat if anybody has questions or.
Hey, look at that. Ryan Greigg, 206-227-5487. If you want to talk to a guy, look, he's got a lot of different stuff he's knowledgeable about. Maybe you want to learn how to build a team. Maybe you want to learn how to work with a showing agent. Maybe you want to learn how to run a team. Maybe you want to, there's no shortage of awesome info that guy is willing to share. There's his phone number. Shelly, Patty, Kimberly, Samuel, Sarah, Tyler, Jason, and Ryan. We'll see you guys later. Have an awesome day.
Take care, brother.
Bye, everybody.
You guys have a great day.
Thanks, everyone. See ya.